Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. In November of 2020, the Democrats and their allies intentionally changed and ignored state law in the administration of the election. They were planning to pull off the greatest scheme, worse than Watergate. They didn't think we would catch them, but we did. Find out more details about what happened, how they did it, in the new documentary film called 2000 Mules, directed and narrated by renowned filmmaker and my friend Dinesh D'Souza, and executive produced by the Salem Media Group. This is also with research from truethevote.org. 2000 Mules tells the story of the ones who tried to hijack a presidential election. You'll see the actual video surveillance tapes. You'll see how their cell phones were tracked to box after box as they got paid to carry out this illegal scheme. Watch the movie and decide the truth for yourself. Attend a limited release premiere of 2000 Mules on May 2nd or May 4th. Check your local listings and get your tickets today at 2000mules.com. That's the number 2000mules.com.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Well, happy Wednesday, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and of course, my good friend Mike Lindell is here with me. We are broadcasting live from Mar-A-Lago. So, Mike, this has been so much fun to be here, and we got to spend a few minutes with President Trump last night. So.
Yeah, it was awesome, and I was also here for another event for the Mark Fincham. He's running for a Secretary of State of Arizona, and I got to have. I was with Tina Peters. She's running for Secretary of State of Colorado. He pulled everybody on stage. That was kind of incredible.
Yeah.
Pulling everybody up there. He pulled, everybody running. He said he'd never seen so many people running that were at an event. There was like 20 people. I'm running for this. I'm running for this. Well, come on up here. Tell us your story.
Yeah, it was
pretty. It was awesome. So, you just ad-lib, and that's what you got to love about the guy.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was there, of course, to support Mark Fincham as well. And there are so many elections that are so important around the country. What's your feeling for 2022? And, there's a Politico piece that actually said that the administrators and the people who are going to make all of these decisions for the next presidential election are on the ballot in 2022.
Right. Well, there's two things. If you'd have told me a year ago, I would have said, we've got to get rid of everything, not even focus on that. So people are talking to me, Mike, are you going to run stuff? I go, so if we have machines and we have this guy, and if that's still here, and we don't fix 2020, we're not going to have an election anyway. But now that's all shifted because where it's shifted where we are when we have all the pieces. We've got now almost 100 counties in the country that are going to be machine free. I just found out like 10 more this morning.
Wow.
And that's very exciting. And then you got the Dinesh movie coming out showing all this other crime. But in a parallel track, I'm going, you know what? We need to have people put in place that have the people's back.
Yes.
And that's important. I mean, I met, since I was put into this, well, I didn't think politics ever meant it. I was an ex-crack addict. I'm going, I didn't know anything back in, and then I met the president back in the summer of 16 before he was president. And other than him, there's probably maybe a handful of politicians that are in office that I personally am, I met them all, or most of them, but that I trust we're finding out, especially these rhino Republicans and these establishment Republicans, they didn't have our back.
Right.
They didn't have our back. It's insanity. I'm thinking, what are you in office for if you're not going to have the people's back? And you know that better than anyone. Back in the election, when you go to these hearings and you get to Arizona and Doug Ducey calls the state and the Republican governor, Republican attorney general, and the Secretary of State call the election. Yep, our electors are good, and you're an hour into the evidence.
Right.
What is with that? And so you see, they don't have our back, and they didn't have our back. But now these upcoming group, these America First.
Yes.
I mean, we need them, and because it's when the people that I'm endorsing, like Mark Fincham last night, like Tina Peters, all these, and Carrie Lake, a governor of running for governor of Arizona. These candidates, I know they can. I met them. They're going to have the people's back, and we can say, well, they get into politics, they change. You know what? We're on to that now, though.
Yes.
Everybody. That's one thing that our great president Donald Trump did was he woke everybody up going, I know what a filibuster is now. I know what a Republican, Democrat. I didn't know anything. I didn't know, I think everybody learned, at least I hope they learned, what's the power of a Secretary of State.
Yes.
I mean, the most corrupt office I've ever seen in my life. It's like across the board. There might be two, I can't name them. I really can't. I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. They have control. The bad people got in there and took over that office, and they control our elections, but not the laws. The legislatures, they even upset me even more because all these Republican legislatures that were in power
didn't use their power.
Didn't use the power. Either they were stupid. We'll give them plausible deniability.
Until Rudy and I went and told them.
And then you told them.
Then
they had no excuse. And even more so, here it is a year later, and now like Wisconsin, they do an investigation there with Gableman, and he's an ex-Supreme Court judge at Wisconsin, does this 7-month investigation that they told him to do, Robin Voss told him to do, these legislators, he's the head of the House in Wisconsin or whatever. Well, he tells him to do this, he does it, and his recommendation is decertify, and his recommendation is, hey, we got to do something, all these lists, and it's like, well, no, we're not going to do that. In fact, Robin told me directly, Mike, until we get a Republican governor, my hands are tied. Liar, liar.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just needs to go through the legislature as a resolution, which then doesn't even need to be signed by the governor. But you notice how they always have an excuse. They always say, it's not optimizing until we have this and this and this in place. We can't.
And when we first met, we were talking about the Constitution and stuff. And I want to tell you,
3 hours.
Yeah,
that
for
was
3 hours.
Great conversation.
But I want to tell you now, this. Everyone still asks me about the Supreme Court complaint, and that is going to come. I'm not the one. The attorney generals are in charge of that. It's not to pull down the electors. What it is, and we need this really bad because what it is, these states, because the legislatures did not do anything, in 2020, all of the Secretary of States, or most of them, like Michigan, let's mail out 7 million ballots illegally. The legislatures have to change those laws to do something that crazy.
Right.
And they didn't. So now, this time around, they're going to do it again.
Right.
Unless the Supreme Court would step in with this complaint and say, once it gets filed, and say, you states have to follow the Constitution. You can't do what you did then. They're not even unraveling anything. It said you can't do that. Pennsylvania, you can't turn in more votes than voters. I mean, you can't do these things.
And what's so great about something like that, and also so frustrating, is that initially the courts will say, well, there has been no harm yet, so you can't have a preemptive type of resolution, and so we're not going to get involved. But then what we saw after November 3rd was that, well, now, sorry, it's too late. We've already administered it that way.
Right.
So it's like they never want to actually address the issue, and it seems like all three branches of government failed, because you had the legislature that was the last full stop for the corruption. They didn't do anything because the executive did not administrate the election properly according to the laws, and then the Supreme Court refused to actually provide a remedy. And so you're right that all of these different positions, we've learned, especially over the last 2 years, how important not only state and local officials are in those elections, but the secretaries of state. And so,
and the attorney generals. I want to say this: the attorney generals, none of them did anything back then to say, hey, you can't do that, except for one guy, Ken Paxton in Texas. He won all 12 lawsuits, you guys. All 12.
Vote for him in Texas, May 17th.
You have to. And I'm going to tell you, they just took away, about 3 months ago, his power to prosecute one crime. Guess what crime that is? Anything to do with an election crime. I mean, why would you take that? They want Texas. They brainwashed everyone in the whole country. Texas could turn blue. Texas could turn blue. Well, I got news. Texas was the second most votes stole from Donald Trump. Second only to California, 960,000. Look up that, fact checkers. It's a fact, okay? And that doesn't even count organic cheating. And I'll tell you, what I've seen now, and what's going to change, here's what I believe, since we've talked, it's been quite a while, but got in depth about this, but everyone asks me, well, Mike, you got all this evidence coming out, you got Dinesh's movie coming out, I've seen it, amazing. You got that kind of crime, you got the machines, you got inflated voter rolls, it all fits together to the tune of actually 15 million votes, if you want to know the facts. And Donald Trump got 82 million, Biden got less than 66 million. That's a fact. I don't care. Fact check me. It's true. So, but what happened is they go, well, Mike, why didn't the judges, they looked at the evidence. No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. That's what everybody likes to see. Oh my goodness, yes.
So if you go back, I believe me, the only one judge that ever looked at this was Antrim County, Michigan. And what did they do? They did a big cover up, 7,000 votes flipped. They covered it up, they kicked the can. Every other judge kicked the can. They say to me, well, why would they do that? Here's what I believe. This is my personal belief. How would you like to be the first judge back then? I mean, I know how I got threatened. I'm sure you were.
Everybody
they
did.
put fear into everyone, and including
had local lawyers who were calling on the phone saying, our kids, our family is being threatened with death threats. I mean, and so how would you like, you're right, how would you like to be the first judge?
One? But I sit here to tell you the hope now, and everybody can see what just happened. The judges now are going to be looking at all this. Look at the brave judge in Florida here that went out and said, it's illegal to have masks and stuff on planes and in airports and all this garbage. Boom, it changed history overnight.
Yes.
The laws, the judges this time around, once, now it's out there, and this was on God's timing. This has all come now. Here we are a year and 3-4 months later. As things unfold, it had to happen this way. All the evil exposed. Yes. All the spiritual warfare that's going on, all the bad Republicans we've seen. I have badmouthed Republicans way more than Democrats. I knew where they were coming from. Oh,
absolutely. And that is a big deal, because everybody who comments are always saying, well, why is this infighting? Why are you slamming our side? Well, if our side is doing the bad things and they're also not being the gap and the stop of corruption, then we know that the Democrats are going to be bad actors. We know that. We know that they're going to lie, cheat, and steal. And so if our side isn't holding them accountable, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you will actually say things and hold Republicans accountable.
That's what I do. I got my list. Brad Rassenberger, worst human being in this country, next to Jenna Ellis, I do this. Not Jenna Ellis, Jenna Griswold.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Jenna Griswold is from...
she's the Secretary of State of Michigan. Secretary of State of Colorado. Jenna Griswold. Now, I give him points. Here's Brad Rassenberg, the Secretary of State of Georgia. Yeah, he's done so many illegal things and criminal things. I've done investigations on him. I can say that. So he gets extra credit because he's a Republican criminal, okay? Now you got Jenna Griswold over here. She gets extra credit because she's a secretary in charge of other Democrat secretaries of state. I don't know if you know that. She's in charge of their whole little thing. So they're trying to make Colorado like the footprint of the country.
Yes, which they've been doing for the last 10 years. I mean, that's my home state, and how much of the
That's your home state.
Parenthood funding has come in.
And look at your state. It's all blue. They stole Mesa County.
And it used to not be. I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, it was an 85% Republican state.
Right.
And all of the people there who have been in Colorado for so long. I mean, yeah, you have the influx from California, you have the hot spots, but I don't think that it accurately reflects the true voter demographic.
It's not. Colorado right now it's like the tip of the spear. It's been kind of changing over this last year. You had Arizona, the focus, then Wisconsin, all this evidence or whatever, and then you have, but now you have Colorado. You have the brave Tina Peters that's running for Secretary of State there. She and other clerks did their job when Dominion came through and said they call it the trusted build. Boy, it sounds good, doesn't it? It's kind of like, I always say they're good marketers, all the evil, they're good marketers. Trusted build. They're deleting evidence.
Don't say gay bill.
Like
that's not
Planned Parenthood. You're not planning to Parenthood. You're planning on killing the babies.
Yes, but they make it sound so nice.
It sounds so nice. That's exactly
How could you
right.
be against, something that's like for the children?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I got a funny story with the Planned Parenthood. So I'm doing a speech out in front of the Supreme Court way back over a year and a half ago. And I was introducing, actually it was Dinesh's daughter. And it was something about, she was going to talk about Planned Parenthood. Well, I get up there and I'm introduced. I'm not good at being the MC or whatever it was, and I go, and I said, Planned Parenthood, all they're doing now is killing the parents. And I go, wait a minute, babies, So everyone's looking at me, they're killing parents now? Now afterwards, I didn't correct it, right? So afterwards, I go up, here comes NBC News, I think it was the NBC, could have been ABC. This reporter, she's about 26, comes up, they're fresh out of college, brainwash, right? They go, so Mike, the Planned Parenthood is killing parents now, being all sarcastic, and I go, hello? I said, just like Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys, Planned Parenthood doesn't let their babies grow up to be parents. And she went, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I go, I know, I'm confused too. I forget who sung that song, Willie Nelson or Bill and Jenny. And she's just like, I don't want to talk to him anymore. But it made sense. They don't let their babies grow up to be parents, right?
Yes,
right?
Yes,
but the way things are now, there's so much hope because I think, 35% of Democrats now believe that, by a Real Clear Politics poll 3 weeks ago, believe the election was stolen, okay, through machines, through everything. So they know we have big problems. Yes. And why are they thinking that now? You talk about brainwash and propaganda. The way things have gone now, because the truth has been tried to be suppressed and suppressed, but you can't suppress the truth. You can't keep it down. As the truth comes up on God's timing, these people now are seeing through where they can't flip it on our head anymore and call a cell phone. Now that's a steak sandwich, no, it's not. It's a cell phone.
People are willing to stand up like you and say, and you've given me a lot of boldness as well. And when I got to introduce you to my dad last night, which was so exciting, and and one of the things that I said to, and I've told my parents, is how much courage you've given me to still continue to stand up and speak truth. Right. Even with all of these attacks. I mean, they're going after our bar licenses, they're going after our livelihood, they're going after our credibility, I mean, all of this. Right. But the truth won't be suppressed. I mean, C.S. Lewis said, truth is like a lion, where you just have to release it and it'll take care of itself.
Right. Absolutely. I said it, Jenna, for a while, I felt pretty alone a year ago, January, when I'm running around with martial law papers, whatever, and at the White House
that infamous photo. Yeah, we all have one that
but if that photo hadn't happened, everybody, I want to tell you how divine that photo was. From when I got evidence on January 9th that explained it all to me, all the deviations that I'd watched, mostly I'd watched Sydney's stuff and then you and Rudy's stuff and all this stuff I'm seeing out there, all these people, I'm seeing all this evidence and my own, and I'm going, one of the things that bothered me was, wait a minute, all these non-residents that voted, I mean, and in almost every state, I'm going, and then people that weren't alive, it didn't make sense to me. And especially the non-residents, because I couldn't imagine, like in Minnesota, 4,000 people marching into Wisconsin, looking around and committing a felony and voting. You know what I mean?
Right.
It didn't make sense. So when I got my evidence on the 9th, that was all machines, that was driven by computer, it made sense. There's cyber attacks every day in our country. And when those attacks happen, it's usually just money. You know, the geeks get better, you put better protection, and then over here they figure out another way to break in. But when it's an election, it only has to happen once, right? And you take a country. Well, anyway, when I got that, and then I'm at the White House, and I got this evidence that I got on January 9th. I'm running around the White House trying to get it. The president sees me, says, take it upstairs to the lawyers. And I get in this big runaround. I end up downstairs. All these things happen divinely. And I'm going, can you think I could use my phone? It's January 15th. She said, Mike, go ahead. Yeah. So I'm outside the West Wing. I'm not even really out there with a phone. And I'm out there, and here they take the Washington. Washington takes, they keep your phone usually. Yeah. And the Washington Post takes this picture from a quarter mile away, unbeknownst to me, right?
Of course.
And the letters that they just hand me back were from some lawyers. I've never read them to this day, but it happened to say martial law, right? So here's a guy 9 days after January 6th running around martial law at the White House. Now the media, I realized, had went completely Fox on me. I call it going Fox. Completely silent. Remember, they canceled everybody on January 7th. Yeah. The whole world canceled. They wouldn't call me. The left media wouldn't attack me, nothing. Just one way is just go silent on it, right?
Right.
Everybody was sitting silent in fear.
So we're not going to cover this because of know, what they called
But they couldn't resist on that martial law picture, right? So here I am outside the White House, and I look over the hill, and it looked like a herd of buffalo coming over the hill. All these media running down the hill, tripping over their cameras. I mean, at least 50 of them.
Wow.
And running, and they all stopped right before the, you've been there, outside where the cement ends, where they all got, they can't go any further. So they stop, and I go, it's dead silent. I go to my son, I go, I got to go. This is crazy. I go, would y'all like me to answer questions? They all go, yeah. And I go, never mind. I changed my mind. Y'all find something real nice to say about me. And I went back to the White House. Now, we get across this, we're heading over the river. I leave the White House, and I'm just devastated. I called up my good friend Ben Carson, and I said, Ben, I couldn't get it there. It was just like this hopelessness that had come over me. And
we all felt that way.
Yeah. And everybody felt like it. But that hit me, and he goes, well, Mike, I remember him saying to me, he goes, we all want this, but maybe, this is all, he goes, this is all in God's time. Maybe God has a bigger plan. And it gave me some hope there. I go, and I'm trying to wrap my head around, well, how is this all going to unfold? I'm sitting here with evidence I believe will just, hey, look at, just like I had with the therapeutic the year before, and that got suppressed. It didn't make sense to me. I was attacked for that. And I'm going, doesn't anybody want to hear?
Off Twitter,
Yeah. And so anyway, we get across to Virginia, and there's like 10 of us, and all of a sudden my daughter sends me that picture. That famous picture, I look like a spy on the White House with martial law, and I'm looking, and she goes, "Get out of there, Dad!"
Uncharacteristically serious.
Yeah. So, so here you picture the scene. Now, Kendra and I, my gal, we knew right away that was meant to be that picture, because from that point on, the media attacked me every single day from morning till night. But what was I able to do? Get the word out. Mike, you lost 4 more retailers. Did you hear about them? Did you hear about the machine? Did you hear about China? Did you hear about this? So I was able to say that in between and switch the narrative, away from them, so they would attack that, and in between the lines, get it out there.
Right. And because they were actually starting to still cover you again.
Yeah. Then they started to cover me, so I could say stuff. And I would get literally Jim Acosta. I remember him calling me, and it was. I made him on hold. The first thing I did was call an outlet, like the Washington Examiner, Washington Times. I said, here's the real story of those papers. They weren't mine, but I've got the evidence. So I'm on the phone, and Jim calls in. I go, Jim, he goes, Mike. Remember, every bad journalist in the world, every journalist has my phone.
Unfortunately.
And I'm not going to call them all bad journalists, because a lot of people
are activists, though.
Yeah. But so anyway, but Jim goes, Mike. I go, Jim, I'm on the phone. He goes, you're outside the White House. I go, I'm on the phone with the real reporter. I said, you're going to have to hold. He goes, okay, I'll hold. I made him hold for 26 minutes, right?
Oh, wow.
And then another time he called me.
Was he silent the whole time?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like
No, here's a good one. He called me once, and he asked me a question. I gave him a 45-minute answer, and he goes and he's going, Mike, I know you got to go. I go, no, I got Jim. I got all day.
Yeah.
So these
his article's going to be really long.
Yeah.
You should have been like, and I need you to print that entire quotation.
Yeah. But these
it's all on
guys,
the record.
But just the other day, because that kept it alive, right up to Jimmy Kimmel. Now, when I went on Jimmy Kimmel,
that was so
everybody said, don't do it. Don't do it. And I knew that the divine way that it had lined up when I set up frankspeech.com, we went out there. I knew we had to get the word out because they were going to quit attacking and suppress my voice again, right? So I could see that. I pray about these things. I said, well, go do this. We did the movie Absolute Proof. 150 million people seen that in 3 days. That got the word out. And but then the media went silent on me again. I mean, they either go completely Fox. I call it going Fox on someone. They go completely silent, and that's the left media. When they attack or stop attacking, you are right over target. See, for me, they've had to go completely full circle. Usually, it's when they do the biggest attack means you're right over target.
Yes.
For me, because they know it don't matter, they can attack me all right. It's when they go silent.
Yeah.
When they go completely silent, and everybody, that's happened 3 times. It happened right after Absolute Proof when that launched. For 17 days, not one meeting. I would call them up and go, you don't call, you don't write. I'd go right down my phone Rolodex and call every reporter in this country. They wouldn't answer their phone. They went silent on me. Now, the second time they went silent, now remember that was for 17 days, was the Cyber Symposium.
Yes.
After that ended, everybody, it was a 3-day event. Nobody won the $5 million. And the media, everybody went silent. I mean, zero for 18 days. On the 18th day, one of the media outlets couldn't resist. It was one of the low-life ones like Salam or something. So Salam comes out and they say, Mike Lindell's failed cyber symposium. He's had to sell his airplane. As I'm flying around in my airplane.
And you're like, I'm texting you from the airplane that I've sold. I'm talking to the new owner right now. Yeah.
And the third time, everybody, so then you get back to your normal level of attacks, and we have this relationship with that media, but at least I have that media, okay? Yeah. At least I have the left media. We've actually become, there's Cheryl from Business Insider. We become good friends. I go, Cheryl, your favorite show's on at 6. I said, what do you think I should talk about tonight? I get these guys, I've got relationships with these journalists, and they're actually now flipping where they're actually they get the word out about frankspeech.com. They get the word, and they're doing this, but they still got to do their bashing. But they've moved it to the bottom now. I'm able to move it to the bottom now. I've got them it's kind of like herding cats. Right?
Yes.
So anyway, the last time that they went completely silent on me, remember there's been 3 times, was after we dropped the Mesa County, what's inside the machines on Frank's speech. Now this was 7 months of cyber guys of going through what is in there. Remember they've never wanted us to get inside the machines. That's been the main thing. Suppress, lawfare. I'm going to sue you, but we can't.
Proprietary.
But it's proprietary. Our source code, blah blah blah. Liar, pants on fire. Right. So we get inside the machines, and it's all there. 7 different. All these guys come out with this third report. This is kind of funny. All the lawyers, no offense.
It's okay. 99% of lawyers give the rest a bad name.
Right. Well, the lawyers are going, we're not going to show this. We're going to put out the report. It's smoking gun. I said, it's only a smoking gun if you 100% trust the people that did the report. You need to see what they did the report from.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so a lot of lawyers think that they're strategizing on defense. I'm always on offense.
Which is wise. And that's what the president does well, too.
You've got to go on offense, and that's what I've been on offense. So what did I do? I put the whole dang image up there. Bam! Here you go. You can look at Frank's speech right now. It's there. It's had 1.2 million downloads. This is stuff you and I can't read. It's like written in Chinese language. Not literally Chinese, but even though it says China on there a lot, believe me. Okay? But it's a language we can't read. That's been part of the suppression, too, of it's so confusing for people, because we can't read it. So all these guys out in cyberspace are looking at it going, whoa. I even gave it, and I will say it here now, the Facebook fact checkers, Alan Duke, shame on you, Alan Duke, again, I believe you're the biggest trader in the country, but Alan Duke runs lead stories for Facebook, okay? They're the ones that cover up. Every time you probably said something, false on Twitter.
The flag, yeah.
Right.
The context is missing.
The content, all this stuff. That's what there's 5 he has 5 employees. Him and Merton, one of the guys over in Belgium. Okay, Martin is, and then Alan Dukes here in the U.S., right? So those two have controlled all this, and there's also USA Today is also another Facebook fact checker. Well, if we all know, about 3 months ago, old Zuckerberg went to court, and what does he say in court? Oh, those Facebook facts, they're just opinions. So I call up Alan, who's him and I have had a history going round and round. I go, Alan, now you're just an opinion. But I need you to actually, you said, you tell me you're a Christian man and you tell me you're ex-military. And I said, why don't you show this? I will give you what's inside the machine, give it to you, to your cyber guys. You signed an NDA. He did this. It's a true story. He did this. Signed it. They checked it all out. He's went Fox on me. Okay. All he had to do is, and he says, oh, yeah, I'll go public. I go, Ellen, you'll be on Mount Rushmore. To finally somebody reporting. We've had all the evidence. You guys had piles from here to the moon back then. You and Rudy had piles from here to the sun and back, right?
Yeah.
And
and you know, the one time that the media has gone silent on me was because I was subpoenaed by the January 6th committee, and part of that was subpoenaing documents as well, not just testimony. I gave them over 9,000 pages of documents with the president's permission, saying, here is all of, I mean, not all but
evidence.
Here's the evidence, and this is what based on, here's the affidavits, here's all of this. And not one reporter. I put out a statement and I said, today I've given the January 6th committee, it's now in the permanent congressional record.
Right.
How many reporters asked me about it when they asked me about everything? And it's like, oh, did you did you even see Trump eat a cracker a wrong way? You know what I mean? It's like they every single little thing. Yeah. But then that one time, totally silent, and it's been almost 2 months. And unfortunately, the Democrats and all of these people like Mark Elias, they try to go on the offense just to suppress people from even expressing an opinion or even saying, well, wait a second, shouldn't we find out the truth of what happened? Shouldn't we look at these documents? Shouldn't we know all of this? And that's why what you're doing is so important because as Elon Musk has said, free speech is a big deal.
And see, I want to meet him. By the way, everybody, if you know him, I want to meet him because I think if he would be shown some, he has a voice out there right now.
He does.
And I think
and
that's
even ask these questions.
And see, these things are going to crack. I think there's a lot of fear, like you said. They played it right. Like Alan Dershowitz, he's head of something I'll tell you in a second we're doing, but he said it best. He said, this is the most important time in history for our First Amendment right to free speech.
Absolutely.
When you're doing, he's not allowed on Fox, Newsmax to talk. He goes, we're doing preliminary injunctions right now, everybody, to get rid of the machines. We started, Kerry Lake and Mark Fincham did an injunction in Arizona to get rid of the machines under 42 USC 1983. Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I'm very impressed. He should go into court. Yeah.
So anyway, I got in trouble for being a lawyer 7 times. It's illegal, I guess. You got to have a license.
Unless you're representing yourself.
No, I wasn't representing myself.
Okay, I was trying to get him out of it, guys, but
But anyway, they go these this preliminary injunction. So we're going to go to every state, South Dakota being next, and all these states. Because remember, the attorney generals are the ones that have to fight it. Okay,
right.
So the Secretary of State, it's really interesting with the one in Arizona, the one we did first. We're going the relief is to get rid of all machines and computers. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, we don't need them. We've showed that we have the replacement system there. It's like the best paper in history, better than money. By a company that makes money,
right? So you have all of the watermarks.
We have everything. The watermark, this mineral, it's awesome, and then developed with technology. Who has the most security in the world? Casinos. Casinos do. They protect their money, right?
Yeah.
So
and
anyway,
should treat ballots like money.
Yeah. So we've got this in Arizona. Now the defense, the Secretary of State is the defendant, which is Katie Hobbs. This becomes very interesting. She's also running for governor. Kerry Lake is the plaintiff, and she's running for governor. And guess who has to defend that? Bonovich, which is the attorney general, who kind of needs a win in Arizona because he hasn't done anything. So here's him. Now, if he fights it, I'm sorry, you're not going to win your little Senate seat there, Mr. Attorney General of Arizona. But if he can embrace it and just say, you know what? This is great. And the judge could say, recommendation as a prosecutor, I don't know how it works, but he could say, hey, in light of the evidence, we don't want these things.
Well, and this is what a lot of people are questioning, saying, well, okay, so they have these government contracts, but why can't we recontemplate in light of everything that has come out if this is actually the best system? Because there are so many security risks. You have that report that was back from 2012, maybe 2016, from Texas, saying that the reason that they didn't implement this initially was because of the security risks. And so for all of the states that are contemplating this, it's almost like it's the worst crime in the world to even question why are we using these when we question systems all the time.
Well, and,
audits are a good
that's
thing.
that's the law fear, and that's the fear factor. You had to put fear in, not just to people. Remember, over 200 people in our country got served papers. They're like mafia letters, and what they were is like, you need to preserve evidence. You need to preserve this. They're going, well, what did I do? Some of them went and got home security systems. We sued them last fall. Alan Dershowitz again. Remember, Alan Dershowitz voted for Biden. He's a Democrat. That's why it's so important having him there, because he's going, this isn't about Democrat, Republican.
Yes, as a lawyer, he gets that, and he's actually really in the lane of making sure that the law is protected.
But can you imagine now, we did this injunction. I'm getting back to cancel culture here. And so he gets in, he goes, I said, well, Ellen, I said, are you going to be able to get this on Fox or Newsmax? And he said, yeah, I'll be able to get on Newsmax. Well, Chris Ruddy, the owner of Newsmax, I called up Chris. I go, Alan wants to go on. He goes, Mike, we can't put it on. Our lawyers advised against it because they're in a lawsuit with them. And we did reach out to Salem, and they're different. Now with Dinesh's thing coming out, and they're involved in it, I think that's going to open a lot of doors to get rid of the fear factor, because here's what I've said, and I hate to say it on your network, but I'm good friends with everybody on Salem. I'm good friends with the owners, even though it went public in 2017. And this is really important, because I said, all you have to do, and I'm not going to name the names of the executives I talked to, but they said, we sat down, I said, you guys, what's worse when, you can't, the people over here cancel, and I just had 12 TV stations cancel me where I can't physically be in the commercial.
Wow.
So what's worse, you cancel over here, like my banks cancel and all this stuff. Mike Lindell lost his Twitter. Mike Lindell lost his bank. Mike Lindell lost his thing. Buy more product. Well, if I can't come on to say why I'm canceled, like when Newsmax pulled their thing off, and the guy walked off the thing that time, if I can't come on, then my voice is getting canceled.
Right.
Okay. And what's worse, you cancel my money or my voice, I'll take my money anytime. I've spent all my money. I want my voice. Yeah. Because then we can communicate and spread the word, and that's where we're winning.
That's
now.
the First Amendment,
where
which is to do what we're
now.
doing right now, which is to speak together about truth. Free speech, free association, and free exercise of religion, by the way, which is all about truth.
And and Jenna, this is where we're at. We're in such a better place. I've actually gotten patience.
What?
But I mean, and even with the outlets, I actually had to think. I built my own now, frankspeech.com, franksocial.com. I met last night CEO of Rumble and the True Social, and to combine all these new platforms that are coming up, and podcasters, even Salem Media now shifting to all these great podcasters like yourself, and where our voices are going to, when we get through, the platform's going to be different. Because people are so frustrated
with the Fox networks.
Oh my gosh.
And even like what we're doing right now, where we don't have to be in a big production studio. We're just sitting on the couch having a conversation, inviting you guys to participate in this conversation. People want that, and they want the real, genuine, authentic voices that they trust, not these networks that they have, some Paul Ryan, Rhino executive that is dictating to them what they can and can't cover in that content. And I know, and I won't name names, but I mean, several of the hosts at Fox have personally told me that they're really frustrated that their editorial decision making, they can't even participate in that, and they're just basically a talking head, and that's why people are choosing a lot of these alternative.
100%. We got Emerald Robertson over from Newsmax, and she came over because she said something against the vaccine. What? Gee, you think all the networks didn't get money for the president? What?
It was even on her own Twitter.
Yeah, it was on her Twitter. It wasn't even on the show.
Air,
So she's at Frank Speech, everybody. But what I'm saying is that's what surprised me most was that, and I think everybody's going. It made it so convincing when none of the judges look at stuff over a year ago. And every time when you did your hearings, who showed up? OAN and RSBN? Yeah. Where was Fox? Where was Newsmax? And, and here's I always do examples. I said, let's say Michigan. Well, okay, 100 and some thousand votes float down for Biden in the middle of the night. They convinced us all, those darn mail-in votes, they all voted for Biden. We got to get rid of them. Well, if it had been Fox would have been involved there, they would have said, Sean could have come on and said, wait a minute. The mail-in votes were counted on the morning of the 3rd. Where did these votes come from?
Right.
what color
The
truck came
timeline
into
is
the building.
Yeah, the timeline is really important. And that's what's frustrating too about a lot of these networks who refuse to even cover the content, but then they don't give you the long format and the opportunity to explain, because the left is so creative to just say, oh, well, you lost no widespread fraud. They have this really pithy sort of keyword where we have to explain, no, here's why it was irretrievably broken. Here is all of the different pieces of this. And it takes more than 30 seconds that we don't even get on the major networks anymore.
Well, and it's like this. It's like, I call it going Fox on you. And so here, when you have what you trusted, like your Foxes and Newsmax, to say something, and they don't say anything, okay? To me, I've compared it to a weather channel, where you're a weather channel, but you got a note in front of you that says you can't talk about hurricanes or tornadoes. The worst two things. You can't talk about therapeutics at work. You certainly can't badmouth the vaccine. And you can't talk about machines. What? Are you kidding me? You can't. You can protect companies that have, we all name the names of all them, from ES&S, Smartmatic, Heart, by Dominion, all these names now that become common household names that are getting protected. But a company gets attacked with USA employees like MyPillow. It's just why? I didn't change.
Right.
I didn't change.
Well, and why are certain companies protected and insulated where it's perfectly okay to attack your company based on and it's just based on your voice in politics, not even what the company is doing.
And this
where it's not even them, it's what their actual product is.
And Jen, this isn't even a political thing to me. When I was on Jimmy Kimmel, he asked me one key question. He goes, well, Mike, if your friend Donald Trump had been picked by, because the Democrats warned us of the machines. That Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar,
but back then it was okay.
They warned us, you can never use them, you can never use them. So we use them, and they're on the side of a fixed game, but now they're okay with that, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say they weren't involved, but they're on the side that won, that because it was fixed. They don't care, okay? So Jimmy Kimmel says to me, he says, Mike, he said, would you have been sounding the alarm if it had been reversed and Donald Trump had won? And I said, 100%, because we lose the American dream, which I've lived, is gone forever. We have a selections, not elections. We become a Venezuela or a Australia or a Canada, for that matter. Mm-hmm. It's going to be gone. We skip right over socialism to communism. Mm-hmm. And anyway, after that happened, after I answered those questions, remember on Jimmy Kimmel, it was easy for me to answer those questions because I thank my friends on the left. They attack me every day. If you don't lie and you tell the truth, you don't have to remember your lie.
Right.
It's the same thing over and over. Eat wrong. Yep. And so we do this, and after that happened, the Washington Post, and I believe I could get it wrong, fake news. Alan Duke checked this for me. We have a Facebook fact checker. It was either Alan Duke, it was Washington Post, and either Huffington Post or Political. Reporters came out to Minnesota, and they went to people that I knew, people I didn't know, and questioned. I think they went all the way down to my second grade teacher. They were there 2 days to find out if I really would, if it was been Donald Trump, would I have not said nothing?
Right.
Every one of them said no. He would have said he would say it no matter what.
If they asked me, I would have said absolutely.
Yeah. And they didn't write the story on that, though.
Of course.
That killed it. They wasted our time in minutes. Dang it, And but I'll tell you, I did the other day. We were on the steps in Colorado. I was there, the Capitol, and I had finally I had a whole bouquet. I love it when I go to events in a state like the rallies, because I can get all the media in a place where they won't talk to me usually at all. And by the way, your Fox that doesn't even come to the rallies, they're not going to count it because somebody could say something by accident, right?
Right.
And
what happened to journalism when it's like, if you're the person interviewing, you're not responsible for what the other person's opinion is.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so bizarre.
Right. And Newsmax, I'll give Chris Ruddy credit.
Yeah,
he covers the rally, but not the pre-show. Mm-hmm. He said, you were actually on his show. And I said, Chris, you had Jenna on talking about the Gableman thing in Wisconsin. Remember that?
I do.
And I said, and I was so excited. I said, when you do that, you get more watchers than Fox. And he goes, really? Tell me. He was in a meeting with all his people. He goes, tell him that. And I go, yeah, there's certain times, because I can tell by the algorithm. he gets more. So he's all excited. And I go, Chris, does that mean I get to come on and talk about it? He goes, Mike, I'm just not ready for you yet. But he's getting there. I'll give that.
Yeah,
so
they are. And I will say, as a contributor to Newsmax, I appreciate what they're trying to do, and they actually have let me. They have not censored me at all in the way that Fox has.
Right. And Chris, and I'm going to give. See, Chris, I'm saying a good thing about you. I told you I wouldn't go completely on the offensive, but Chris told me, he goes on the preliminary injunction. He said he wouldn't cover it, but he will cover it when they start making rulings, which is something.
Will hopefully will be
and Salem also told me they'll actually report as we file them. So that's good.
That's good.
And that's they're getting braver.
Salem on this network,
and they're getting braver. They're getting braver because they have stockholders and they don't realize their stock would go through the roof if they made the move on the offensive.
Well, and also
but they're still scared.
If they just continue to be bold, and that's the thing, is that truth doesn't change and truth will prevail.
Right.
And when people see others like you and like President Trump who have courage to continue speaking, that gives them courage.
It gives them courage.
Then everybody starts saying, okay, wait, and that's what the left is afraid of.
That's what's going on. And that's what is going on across their country. The communication is it's going on.
They can't stop all of these OTT platforms.
No, they cannot. And I thanked, so I was on the steps of the Capitol. Now I know I was going to say it. So we're on the steps in Colorado. This huge bouquet. It's when they served me papers, by the way, another lawsuit. Oh, well, put it on. By the way, ES&S, if you're watching, please sue me. I'm waiting for you. You don't get to hide being the biggest distributor of voting machines in our country. They're out of Omaha, Nebraska. Very corrupt. Look up ES&S voting machines. Check it out. But anyway, so that was just
invitation to sue. I mean, usually I'm like telling clients, like, you sure you don't want to sue? And that's usually on the
Bring
offense.
it on.
He's actually asking to be a defendant. Do you know how rare that is?
I don't care because we have it all. So anyway, here I am talking to all this media, and I go, you guys, and this is ABC. This is all the media that was there except for Fox. And I said, you guys, I want to apologize to all of you. I have used you for over a year now to get the word out. You've helped save our country, just like the guy that took that amazing picture at the White House. God uses all things for good.
Absolutely.
And I said, you guys, some of you have become friends of mine. I don't know what I'm going to do without them. I told them all, I said, when this is over, we're going to have a big event in a big dome. You can, it's all been validated. You can switch your narrative. Maybe your bosses will be fired. Maybe you can all come to work. I've offered, Fox hosts, come on over. I would,
wow.
I've even named certain ones. Come on over. You know what? Yeah. Just start speaking out again.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. If we didn't have that media, what's worse when you can't talk at all? Because if you're only getting one narrative and you've always trusted that they're going to report hurricanes or tornadoes and they stop. Now, that can be deadly.
Absolutely, because then people trust that.
They trust that there's nothing going on. Then if they happen to watch the left, they're going, oh, this is what's really going on.
Right.
Because they're hearing nothing here.
Right.
And over here, they're saying, over here, there might be a storm. They're reporting a storm, but it's 3 counties over. It's a lie. It's fake news. But they're reporting a hurricane, but at least they're reporting a hurricane. Over here, they're reporting nothing.
Well, and this is why, and one of the things that I love about what you said is that you have named a lot of the leftist sources as well, and I have all of the media that I read, because if I just go to one source and one content, I don't know what their editorial decision making is. Right. I don't know if they're covering everything. And so if you want to be a well-informed person, like what you're saying, you need to be reading everything, seeing, okay, what are their biases, what are their perspectives, and finding out the truth, and also listening to people that you do trust, like on Frank's speech, like on Salem here. And do the due diligence yourself, because so many people ask me, well, if I'm just sitting here, I don't know who to believe and trust. I'm going, but in everyday life, you have to make those decisions for yourself. You can assess people's credibility. You know in your gut who is trustworthy or not. Listen to those people, but then also look at the spread of what is the left suppressing, and also what are the right establishments suppressing as well. Right.
And what has gone on with lawfare? Alan Dershowitz has said it hasn't happened since 1798 in our country. Back when they did it to some newspapers back then. I mean, you got to admit, it was a great marketing plan by them. Okay, just great. That part was good marketing. The cover up was amazing marketing because they went for everything. Okay, on January 7th, when they canceled church, anybody that spoke out, Everybody was canceled that day. 1.2 million Americans on YouTube, Vimeo, Suckerbucks, Facebook, Twitter, not just the
It was
president.
their pretext to just shut it down.
Shut it down.
Yeah.
Now, I was there, and I want to tell you a little mini miracle. I was there on January 4th in Georgia for the runoff. And I said, the rally before the runoff. And I said, all of a sudden it hit me, and I go, wait a minute. If I'm a marketer here, and I instantly started praying that they would steal both Democrats, take them both. And why? Everyone said, "No, come on, don't get all riled up saying I cost you the country." Okay, so what it was if I'm a marketer, I'm going, and it was so much everywhere that I would tell you guys had everything poured in that I would have said, give them back a Republican so they shut up about the election.
Right.
Now, they already had 3 or 4
that
corrupt
as well.
senators anyway. It didn't matter. And they had the machines. They got the computers. It would have just suppressed everything.
They have Collins and Murkowski.
Because if they would have done that and it gave one back, almost,
a lot of
95%.
would have said,
Even on the right, I'm telling you, they would have said, "Hey, we still have the Senate. We'll get them back because it's flip flop. It's our turn now. It's our turn now." There's never going to be another turn again unless we correct this.
Yeah.
And that was the scary part. So I prayed they'd take them both. When they took them both, everybody knew where they were. What? Maybe there was crime. Let's look this up.
Well, and I always say too, the worst decision that the Supreme Court made was not following the Constitution and actually hearing the Texas versus Pennsylvania case.
Right.
Because if they had at least heard that on the merits, even if they didn't hold in favor of the president, which of course I believe that they should have, and actually for the Electoral College and election integrity, there still would have been a decision from the highest court in the land on the merits, and people would have at least felt heard. That I think is one of the biggest frustrations and why people are so focused on election integrity for all the reasons you're mentioning, but also because they know that we haven't even had an opportunity to be heard in a judicial forum, and that is un-American.
Well, it's amazing. You just said you put 9,000 papers into the January 6th. Here's some evidence.
Yeah.
We have lawsuits against Dominion. I have lawsuits. I sued Smart Man. I sued them all. When the January 6th, I'll tell you this. I wasn't there, but they reached out to me to Verizon to get my phone records. I was just going to give it to them. But you know what? Then I said to my lawyers, I said, you know what? Sue them. So we sued them. Well, then a bunch of other people followed suit and started suing the January 6th committee. But I say this, and I'll say it now, just like I said to ES&S Machine. If you're there, Pelosi, and you're watching, I would love to come to your little carnival and testify, but I want mine on national TV. I want to be able to bring a camera and put it out there. They won't do that.
No, they won't, because they want to suppress the information. They would never
do that. They would not want him on.
Why? And why is that? If they really thought that they were representing the truth, they would be like, yeah, have at it. We will make the most fun of him ever, but they won't.
Right. I got a question for you. Why the FBI over a year ago, or no, almost 10 months ago, I think it was June 26th of last year, comes out with a report saying there was no collusion between Donald Trump and people at the January 6th. After their 6-month investigation. That should be it, even though the FBI was probably covering up themselves.
But it's a political circus, and it's the same thing as the Russia
election
hoax.
deflection.
Yes, and it's the same thing as Russia, and then the day that Mueller actually testified, and it was like, whoa, this is seriously dead. The very next day is when the phone call with Zelensky happened. I always say, if President Trump had ordered a pizza that day, they would have impeached him for it. They needed a next hoax. And so they are going to continue to beat this thing until it is so complete. Everybody, and it's already failing. Nobody cares about it anymore. And so they are going, though, to continue this political theater and this charade, I think, until 2022. And now their biggest thing, though, is the Supreme Court and the leak and all this other stuff. But until they get the next hoax going, that's how they operate.
Right, and you're exactly right. If everybody think of this as marketing. What did they do with Afghanistan? This is when I look at this. What was it? 9 or 10 days later. So it's there. Everyone in this country, I don't care if Democrat, Republican, it don't matter. The people are going, what are you doing? The most craziest lack of common sense in probably history. I mean, even for them. And what do? All of a sudden, Biden gets up on stage and he goes, if you have 100 people in your company, you have to take a shot, like a junkie, And I'm going, okay, what are they really doing there? Everybody went, ooh, no, and focused on that.
Yes.
And Afghanistan was kind of lost over here. In one news cycle, gone. And you didn't hear about it again. It went dead.
Just like Cuomo.
They are so good at that.
Deflecting.
And they, but they do stupid things. And I'm going to tell you, they're big, in the big picture, the devil does bad things or stupid things, just like they stole both those senators, okay, in Georgia. They were stupid. They should have given them back. It would change history. They would have took the world. But on Inauguration Day,
sometimes they get overconfident.
That's exactly right. They had January 6th plans, so they go, hey, we have a safety net January 6th. No one's going to speak up after that, right? That was their safety net. So let's take both senators. But what was their safety net on Inauguration Day? On Inauguration Day, if I'm their marketer, I say, you guys, don't do anything stupid. Let's just we're coming out of this China virus. Let's make it look like socialism and communism is a good thing, and then we can whack them. But what do they do the first day? You open up the border with the fentanyl. You take away 50,000 union jobs, shutting down the pipeline. 13 people commit suicide. This all happens, and everyone's going, what are you doing?
Happened?
And they didn't realize what that pipeline would manifest to is where we're at now. It's not just the price of gas, everybody. It's the trucking. What's coming at you with this economy is it's going to be beyond anything this world has ever seen. If we wouldn't have had those brave truckers in Canada that did that, you would have lost, because 80% of those truckers were vaccinated. That's what I heard. But the other 20% that would have stood their ground, you would have lost them truckers. And we have a hard enough time with shipping now. They wanted to do it. That was their big play. Yeah. So they brave truckers that got those mandates overturned. That they,
that to allow parachuted that. In your pillows.
Yeah, parachuted in my pillow. The only time I punked the news. And you tell about that news too.
He called me and was like, "This is awesome, Jenna." I love that story.
Well, how about the Washington Post writes an article about it. Would a pillow really hurt you? Philip Bum, he's been around for years. He writes an article investigating if pillows would hurt you if they fell. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, if you swung a pillow at 1,900 miles an hour in a pillow fight, it would hurt you. Okay, really?
Wow. So if a plane hits you with the pillow, then it's
But then he put the pillows. Apparently, he gets down to the bottom of the article. He says, "Yep, they won't hurt you during our test." But he did one mistake.
This?
Oh yeah. They tested it.
Who has time for this?
Yeah, and it was a 2-page in the Washington Post. So, but he tested it as an open pillow that they're rolled. So but then at the end he put, "Well, here's a disclaimer. Mike Lindell said he was going to use little parachutes on him, so it wouldn't hurt you at all." Give me a break.
So funny.
But the way we're sitting now, we're in such a good place in history, because if, like you say, I look at those as mini miracles, like when you say, okay, the Supreme Court should have looked at this. It wasn't on God's timing. I talked to Ken Paxton the other day, and I go, Ken, you saved Texas. Or they were going to take Texas. They had brainwashed Texas. They had brainwashed Texas could turn blue. Texas could turn blue. That's marketing. The best marketer in the world ever was probably Goebbels for Hitler. He convinced a whole population that better is a race and that this race is worse, and the rest of them he put into fear.
Yeah.
So you had one of two things. So who's going to raise their hand? They're going, we got one, and even though they're one, you know what I mean?
Right,
and that's what they were trying to do us here. But if all these things happen, I told Ken, I said, if the other AGs would have stopped that, from going on, it would have changed things. But we would have never found out all the things we know now. We know our bad media platforms. We know our bad social media platforms. We know box stores that are bad. We know Republicans that are bad. We know that China was involved in this. We know that so many things were found out. People are pouring over. I said there's 2 cups. I call it the greatest revival for Jesus in history. We're bringing our country back to God. You have 2 buckets. Nobody goes this way. And you don't look for hope unless things are going bad. So people are pouring over into this bucket. They're, they're praying. They're getting back in prayer. Please help. My worry is, and I said it to someone here last night in Mar-A-Lago, I said, my biggest thing is, I hope that, it was like 2 months before the election, they don't all of a sudden go, hey, let's just do something to lower the price of gas. And people have short memories.
They do. And the news cycle,
that's scary.
When it changes, it does. They'll forget everything.
They'll forget everything. Yes. And it's like down in Arizona. Yeah. When Doug Ducey opened up the state of Arizona, he didn't just do it in steps. He said, everybody's free. Throw their masks in the river. They poured in from Nevada and California and Bullhead City. It looked like 10 times bigger than the Trump rally that was had here. But what happened was, you're not going to be able to recall Doug Ducey, because he knew we were going to try and recall him. And You couldn't get anyone to sign. Doug did a great job. Look at he opened this up. They forgot about what he did in the state.
Everything else, which is so, and it goes both ways, because it's like if one good person does one thing that they disagree with, then it's like, they're the worst person in the world. Or if you have this long track record of somebody who actually has been a rhino and they've been awful, they do one good thing and suddenly and you're like, no, you have to look at the entire course of history. And one of the things that you said, Mike, and and then this is, we could spend 3 hours again, but I love what you said about God's sovereignty, because so many people are so frustrated that the election integrity did not actually accomplish holding President Trump in office and actually, all of that. But what you said about God's sovereignty, I think, is really what ultimately gives us hope, because we know that it's in God's timing. And John MacArthur, who of course I represented in California, when he was going through that whole thing of the church closures, and he was getting oppressed and harassed by LA County. He told me, he said, Jenna, I think you're going to learn a lot about God's sovereignty through this whole thing, because what people don't recognize about him is that even though he ultimately prevailed and he kept his church open and we had an amazing victory, he was willing to do the right thing even if he had suffered defeat. And so in this, even though we didn't get the Supreme Court to hear all of this, we didn't, Donald Trump is here at MAR-A-LAGO instead of in the White House, and we all wish that were different. We still need to be willing to stand on truth, trust God, even when we don't get the victory temporarily.
When we don't understand. You're exactly right. When we don't understand. Yeah. And I tell that to our president. I say, this has all been on God's timing. I always, when we talk, I'll say, you know what? Think of this. We wouldn't know about, and I'll point out, basically rhinos that have went bad. You point out things that legislatures that do the job. The people are getting educated, and that was all meant to be. How are we going to get a new beautiful platform with God all things are possible and with God back in our school? How are you going to do that unless you have a complete mix-up of the things and say, we're educate people?
Yeah.
And you can't educate people with the media that was there. You can't educate people. People are open to knowing
and
because
look at what you said about all the people that who are saying we're going to leave our private lives and get engaged in government because we're the America First.
Oh, it was amazing.
This wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, there was 20 people here just last night. All the people I talked to, they're going, I'm running for this. I never ran before. I've never ran for.
I've never even voted before.
Look at the precinct strategy. Look at the precinct. Yeah. You know about that, right?
Yeah.
The precinct strategy. People didn't know about that. The Republicans hid that. 200,000 open spots so that they could run it here,
Well, the Republican Party isn't going to get to hide anymore. And
no,
that's
they can't.
Beautiful
they
thing.
Can't. And what's funny is you watch shift. I watch some of these politicians shift in their things going, all of a sudden, right away after the inauguration, especially, the ones that would even talk to me, I'd call my friends, they wouldn't even answer the phone. I go, okay, I get it. You don't want to be associated with me right now, right? I mean, I thought Facebook was suppressing me, suckabuck. Wow. I'd put up a picture and it would be 2 likes. I'm going, okay, you guys, you're not going to get arrested for liking something.
Yeah.
But in that day, you didn't know. You didn't know. You just liked Mike's picture.
Yeah.
It was a picture of me and Rudy Giuliani.
You must be a traitor.
This is actually funny. I want to tell you how media goes. Speaking of Rudy, this is back in the summer of 16, you guys. So I'll tell you how I was the media's darling, right? I mean, I could say I'm walking across the street and 20 cameras would show up. How many more employees? Oh, you're an ex-crack addict. What the American dream and beautiful, blah, blah, blah. So the summer of 16, I actually get invited to the Republican convention. I don't know why I'm there. I don't know anything. I don't know a Democrat from Republican, a liberal from conservative. But I run into Rudy in the hallway, right? Mm-hmm. And this is when we first met. It was a divine appointment, and all these divine appointments happened there. But it was funny because that summer, I put a picture of me and Rudy up. I get like 200 likes, right? And I put a picture of me and Donald Trump running for president then, and I get like 3 likes. I mean, it was crazy. So it was like you see this, and all of a sudden, as I kept putting stuff up, people get braver and braver, and all of a sudden you have 100 likes, then 500 likes. So I knew that the people, even though it was, you're not supposed to like this president, but everybody on my Facebook, I only had to deface 2 people out of all my friends. It's like, you guys come on in. It's okay. It's okay. Another thing, I flew out to, right after that Republican, I flew out to do a movie with Stephen Baldwin in California. Well, I'm on the set. And I had never been in a movie set before, and all these, right in the middle of Hollywood, all these people in there, the cameramen and all this, you think you're in the liberal world, right? And so I'm doing a thing on my thing, and I'm trying to be funny. I go, and like subliminal, I'm going, I'd say my line like, and move it over there, vote Trump, thinking I'm being funny, and nobody would laugh. I'm going, that's funny, you guys. I'm going, wait a minute. Is there a problem with talking about Donald Trump, right? During the course of the day, every single one, 40 some people other than one mouthy guy came up to me and goes, I'm really voting for him, but I can't say it here. So that one guy controlled the whole narrative of all of them, because you know what? There'd have been half in that room if that one guy said, hey, Mike, I'm voting for Trump. They would, after I left there, wait, you voted for him even though they're voting for him.
Yes.
That's the way, that's what we've crossed over, everybody. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's okay to speak out. That's what our great president has changed, where it just went, and where people that have stood up like you and Rudy and all these people, and then myself, that have spoke out. Courage brings courage.
Yes.
And there was a time, you talk about lawyers, when this law, here's a good example of where we're up at the. So when I asked Dominion to sue me, I got to get a local lawyer. Dominion sue me. By the way, ESNS member, I said sue me. I'd love to be sued today. Right, I put you on the pile because I'm coming after you. So here, Omaha, Nebraska. Anyway, so we had to get a local lawyer, which always bugs me. You not only need this lawyer, but you got to get a lawyer over here in this county because you have standing, blah, blah, blah. So I get a lawyer in Minneapolis, right? This is crazy. This is when I sued them. So we get this law firm. We talk to the law firm. The very next morning, they're attacked by bots and trolls and these attack groups that you know well. They attack. So what does the law firm do? They fired the guy and say, we didn't even know he was going to do this.
Wow.
Are you crazy? So that's how I got most of my lawyers. They got fired for doing their job. I said, come on board. Or anyone that stood up. But as we...
And actually represented clients.
Represented clients.
That a lawyer would represent
this is what I'm saying. The difference between last year and this year, when you talk about judges that are going to get brave now, just like that gal here in Florida, they're going to get brave, and they're going to make rulings like you've never seen. That preliminary injunction now we need one, we're doing we're going to South Dakota, and we're going to Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, all these places. It's been easy to get law firms now because courage has brought courage. And they're going, like this movie tonight. The word's getting out there. It wasn't just drop boxes or mail-in or inflated rolls or the cyber attacks of the machine. We need a completely new system. But also, in the meantime, look what all got revealed.
And that's okay to advocate for and have that opinion. And so we have the premiere tonight at MAR-A-LAGO. So watch 2000 Mules, see what you think for yourself.
And I've seen it.
Become educated. I have it. I'm really excited.
It was so awesome.
To
Way more than
Dinesh.
I thought it would be.
That's amazing. Yeah, and it's like an hour and a half. This isn't a short movie. So go to 2000mules.com and look at that and see where it is in your area.
Yeah,
We're going to watch it
and this will be. It's like this is how you bypass the media, basically.
Yeah. It's to go for yourself. Absolutely.
And you see it, and you can't walk away. It's 100%. There it is in black and white. You can't tell me this isn't a phone. You can't tell me it's a steak sandwich.
You can't tell me.
Identify it. So things are, I just see there's so much hope, and everyone, it scares me sometimes that we're running out of. It doesn't scare me. I only fear the Lord, but it's like, okay, God, we're running out of time here. We only have 6 months before the 2022 election. It has to be fair enough to flip stuff. And even if, let's say, you get half the machines gone, half the states do this right, half do that right. I think what you're going to find, we will have a big win. But you also see it's scary when old Pelosi comes out and says, yep, we're going to gain people in the House. That's starting to put the narrative out there. And into this, you want to be scared a little bit out there because you all need to get involved. And by the way, you can do that at frankspeech.com. We have everything you can do there. In your own state, we have groups that Cause of America. But isn't this fun? I want everyone to look at this. You look at Biden when he did nothing to get whatever the big lie is the big lie, to get all them votes. Look at right now. If you're in an election year and you're still destroying our country, when would you let up on the destruction for that short-term memory we talked about? Because you know why? If they do it right up to the election, what does that tell you, Jenna? They're gonna cheat.
Yeah, then they know that
because they know that they have it. Because otherwise, you would not do that. You look for deviation in behavior, and if your enemy is doing nothing, not even loading his gun, not even doing anything, you're going, okay, maybe there's a bomb in the room, you know? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's scary. And people need to do that. It's
Get involved and pray.
Pray and pray and get knowledgeable, you know? That's what I say, watch the movie, keep watching, you know. That's why I can't say enough about frankspeech.com. I didn't do it to pay money. I poured millions into it. There's not, and it's just to our voice. We've got 3 or 4 million people now, but it spreads the word. And it's not just what, you know, okay, let's say you're only reaching 500,000 people at a time, but those people are the people that are out there doing stuff on the ground, and they're telling 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. Remember the old hair commercial?
Yes, and it's the brush fires of liberty.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
That's
And that's where we're at. So I feel I've never felt so confident. You know, I'm always optimistic. You know that. But this is like overwhelming optimism. It's like
and that's great because so many people have said, "Oh, we don't have hope. We see all of the disaster of things and all that." So I think the whole point of all of this message is to trust in God's sovereignty and timing, but we can have hope, and I really appreciate.
And I want to do one more. I know we're probably over on time here, or like Jim Acosta. Jim Acosta says to me, "Mike, I know you're busy." No,
I'm
Jim,
not
I got all the time in the world.
for 26 minutes though, so it's okay.
But here's what I want to say. If you're out there and you're feeling hopeless with the drugs that have poured over, we are now in, you know, people are dying, kids are dying and stuff because they do have that hopelessness. You can go to LindellRecoveryNetwork.org. It's free. 100% free. Send someone you know there. They'll trust me because I was there. I was an ex-crack addict. This is any addiction. I don't care what it is. You go there and it's free. And an addict will go there because I'll tell you what, he wakes up with the same problem he went to bed with when he finally goes to bed. This deep down wounds that you need to replace that. And on my platform, it's not just the bonuses. It's just a bonus getting off your addiction. The real win is getting to Jesus, and that's where we're at in this thing. And you're going to go there, and you're going to see all these hope matches of everyone. You'll put in your age and your addiction, and you'll see all these people that made it through. Hundreds of thousands. We've been working on it for over 2.5, 3 years.
And it's again the courage
to
say, look, these people have made it through. I can too.
Well, it's the old treatment thing. It's like regulations in our country. Do you know? Our president tried to change some of this, but when he did the $6 billion opiate bill, but all these other things, when I told him, 34 states have laws in this country. In order to counsel an addict, you have to have 4 years of college, swim the English Channel, do 25, all these regulations.
Like the apostles in the scriptures.
Right,
they went and got their PhDs in theology before they said, come follow Jesus.
So if I've been in so many treatments that I've forgotten more about addiction than they'll ever know. And addicts will sit in some of these secular treatment centers and go, okay, I'm just going through the motions to get out of here. If the person hasn't been there, you don't have that that trust that, hey, who are you to tell me because you've never been there where I'm at? So that's why it's so important to go there. And we've also vetted over 3,000 centers in this country that do work. And that's like the Faith-Based Teen Challenges, the Union Gospel Salvation Army. And then we've also had 250,000 churches on there that have help.
That's
so you
amazing.
put in, I mean, all this stuff, and it's free.
It's free. So LindellRecoveryNetwork.org. And thank you for your ministry, your courage, and dedication first and foremost to the Lord, because that's ultimately what all of this is all about.
It's all in spiritual battle.
To make sure that everyone can come into a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. So
absolutely.
I respect and love you so much, Mike, and thank you for sitting down with me today, and also for all of the stuff coming out from MyPillow. He keeps telling me use promo code Jenna because you can support this show and support that Mike is supporting the show.
Support all my employees. That's what's kept us going. I haven't asked for help, and I've spent tens of millions of dollars, but it's all been you that have supported me, and like your podcast, and to do that. So use a promo code, and you're going to get. Right now we have our buy one get one freeze. Back for 6 months, but remember, Better Business Bureau always likes to sue me. And by the way, I still have an F rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's a corrupt organization, but
that's F for freedom. So we're good with that.
And for fantastic.
Yes, all right.
But use that promo code.
Use promo code Jenna. Support Mike Lindell, and thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk soon, and I'll see him at the movie premiere tonight. So make sure you also see 2,000 Mules. See you tomorrow. Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. I also want to talk about another great American who is the sponsor of this podcast, and that, of course, is my good friend Mike Lindell. He has been canceled out of so many box stores for simply standing up for his own political opinion. And disagree or not, or support him or not, it is a fundamental right of every American to be able to voice their opinion, and that absolutely includes politics. That absolutely includes issues that are central to our culture. That includes faith. Mike is such a very sincere Christian, and I am proud to consider him a friend, and he is, of course, a friend of this show. So right now, there is a special on MyPillow.com. Click on the new radio listener specials. Get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including a great towel set, which is a 6-piece set. It includes 2 bath, 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths, made in the USA, regularly $109.99, now just $39.99, but you have to use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna. That tells Mike that you listen to this show, you're happy that he is a sponsor of this show, and you will get great discounts, but use the promo code Jenna, that's Jenna, either at mypillow.com or call 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna.